Hey everybody, Andrew from Gameosity here, and today we are going to be looking at a game that does something that I almost can never say. It does something unique that I haven't seen elsewhere before. It's Grumpf, and it's pretty cool. So we did a game in a minute about Grumpf previously, and we talked about how neat it was that it did a few interesting combination mechanics, but we actually want to go over it a little bit in further detail because we really think it's sort of really cool. Grumpf is a real-time area majority worker placement racing game where each player has a pile of grumps, these gruff-looking dudes, and they're going to be going out hunting and trying to gather different animals at these different hunting grounds. And you score points in Grumpf for the variety of animals that you manage to bring back. And hunting is a little frantic. Let's take a look. So as I said, Grumpf is all about the hunting grounds, and you'll start every round by drawing animals from the animal bag, and animals are all different colored tokens that will be added to the appropriate hunting ground. You draw 12 every round. And then everybody takes their grumps, and grumps are these different value tiles. Some of them have multiple values when you flip them over, and some of them have clubs, and we'll get into what those are for. But when the round starts... Oh, and this setup, the number of what they call huts, depends on the number of players, and that has to do with how the round ends, and I'll get to that in a second. When the round begins, everybody's going to take their handful of grumps, shake them, dump them on the table, and then as quickly as they can, they're going to start assigning them to the different spaces on these different hunting grounds. Now, the goal is to get the tokens that have been added to these hunting grounds, not the grumps, but the animal tokens. And what's interesting about each of these hunting ground spaces is that each of them has a different, they have a track that you'll be adding your grumps to. They have a scoring mechanism that is different for each of the different hunting grounds. Like, for instance, this particular track, the player in first place is going to get 2 tokens, and then the second player is going to get 1, and third player is going to get 1, and that will cycle over and over again until all of the animal tokens on this tile have been distributed. But there are also tiles that have requirements for being scored for the round. So, for example, this tile, in order to be scored, the total value of grumps assigned to this tile has to be less than 10. And if it's more than 10, then this hunting ground isn't going to score, and nobody's going to get any animals, regardless of who they added and what they put where. And so that was pretty simple, right? You know that you don't want to put more than 10 points here. You know that you want to be between 10 and 20 points here. You know that you want to be over 20 points worth of grumps total here. But in the freneticism of everybody going at full speed and placing as quickly as they can, those details tend to get lost. And you may, if you're smart and you're quick with your eye, you may see that somebody's put something that's going to go over 10, and that's where these Grumpf tiles with the little club marks go, because you can spend a Grumpf with a club to cover someone else's, and that will change the total value. It will also stop that person from getting a majority, for example, on that tile, potentially. But everybody's going to place, and as soon as you've placed all of your grumps, you're going to drop your token on one of the huts, and as soon as all of the huts are filled, that round ends, and you go to scoring. Like I said, you'd be surprised at how quickly your ability to do math kind of goes out the window when you're trying to go as quickly as possible. And what's neat about Grumpf is that it does a real-time element right, in my opinion, because it's not an arbitrary sand timer that you flip over and then people eventually just sort of forget to look at because they're busy doing their thing. Instead, the pressure comes from the other players, and it can get surprisingly hectic. Let's take a look.
3,
2,
1.
Grumpf!
Alright,
okay,
there.
all right.
This one, okay.
No.
Okay, there. Okay, oh dear. Yeah.
No.
Ooh.
4, that's fine.
There.
What?
There.
Come on.
There. And Grumpf.
And that's Grumpf. What do we think?
It's a fun little game. I was surprised by it.
And that's the thing. It's like this game really sort of does something that I don't think I've ever seen before. The combination of these sort of real-time elements and also the area control. Because, I mean, I like area control games. I like the sort of area majority thing. And I like kind of a real-time game, but a lot of them kind of don't work because the timer mechanism is a little unattended.
Anything with like a sand timer, you're going to lose track of.
The worst. It's hard to do it right. No, but from this, the pressure in that it comes from the other players, one of the things that the advantage of that is that you can play this with anybody. Like, if you've got a young one, they say in the rules, like, adult players are only supposed to use one hand to flip and manipulate their tiles. Younger players can use both. But if you've got a younger player, just you slow down a little bit and you let them take turns and whatever. And I expect it'll get cutthroat pretty fast.
Especially as they get better at math.
Exactly. Or you get worse at math because of how fast things are zipping around. I also, I like it too.
Yeah.
Which I don't think I said. But what's fascinating to me about Grumpf is that the core premise is so simple.
Yeah.
And yet it's really this fun, like, like, it's this fun frenetism, especially with more players, right? With 2 players, it's a little more methodical. You can, if you both, like, kind of agree to slow down a little bit, but don't.
No.
Like, don't. Just go fast.
Play it at full tilt. It is the most speed brain burner I've ever played, I think.
Yeah, only because it's asking you to make these calculations on the fly. And the thing is, with 2 players, for example, when you would think that the game could go much slower, the round ends as soon as one person places their last Grumpf. And so it's not going to go slow. People are going to ramp up, and once you get was it placed 6 people just pounding their pieces onto these boards, it's frantic and fun. But again, it's so simple. It's a handful of different scoring mechanisms, all the different little triggers that you have to be aware of.
Yeah.
And each of these tiles even has like a B-side that has different rules, a different number of spaces. Yeah, different numbers. And they say, start with these ones, flip them over as you get more experience, and then mix them, just like total randomness. And I think that's just really neat. I think what we have here is something unique.
I really like about it is you've got this small box, but they can play a lot of people all at the same time, and there's no downtime.
Yeah.
You can explain the rules super fast, get everybody playing, and you're done in 15 minutes?
Easily. I mean, play a burner round with new players. Like, be like, okay, we're going to put some out, and then go quick, and you say, okay, this and this and this. Because most people, when you start to explain it, they'll be like, okay, I think I get it, whatever. But after that first round, most people are going to have a handle on it, and just have that first round don't count.
Yeah.
They just toss that one away or whatever. I think that the art's really cool. Like, these Grumpf dudes.
So weird.
I keep calling them dudes. They're furballs.
Yeah.
But they're so weird, and the animals that they're hunting are bizarre. The presentation is really great, and
It's so like bright and fun.
It's like super colorful. It's super. It has the potential to get pretty cutthroat.
Yeah.
Because you put all your pieces out, and then all of a sudden you think you've got a good majority on that one, and then you look back at it, and somebody's clubbed one of your Grumps out of commission, and it's like, what the heck? One of the interesting points is that once you place after you finish placing your Grump, if it doesn't end the round, but you take your tile and you put it in one of the huts, nobody can mess with your tiles anymore. So that's even more impetus to do it as quick as possible.
Yeah.
But of course, not being able to mess with your tiles isn't the same as not being able to mess with the hunting grounds, because you might have thought you had a majority, and then you were like, I'm out, and then they decide that it's worth committing. So, but again, that last person doesn't get to put all their Grumphs. The round is always over before the last player puts their last token down, because there's one fewer hut than the number of players, or significantly fewer huts than the number of players, because there are only 3 huts at maximum. And then the scoring, once you collect up all the animal tokens, and the different scoring mechanisms are kind of fun to wrap your brain around, because you got to make these value judgments on the fly.
Yep.
And then it's just a simple variety, right?
Yeah.
For as many sets of different kinds of animal tokens you can get, the better. It's just good. It's just good. It's totally playable. You get the chameleon tokens that act as wilds, and that's another balancing mechanism that you can use for little ones. The shaman tiles that double the tokens so that you can use them in multiple sets is neat.
But it's very cool that this game can play as a party game, as the kind of game you bring to a game night, because it's simple, it's small, fit in the bag, or the kind of thing you can break out with a family. You know?
Absolutely.
It really covers a lot of different bases.
Yeah, and overall, we just kind of love this little game. It's a surprisingly good time for such a small package, and it's kind of a silly thing for me to say because I love small box games. But for something to be so simply innovative, I think it's just neat.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Well, that's Grumpf, and this is Andrew and Jess from Gameosity. We'll see you next game. So, we hear you like reviews. If you want to see more of our full-length reviews, go ahead and click on that playlist over there. But if you've only got a minute to spend, go ahead and click on those Game in a Minutes over there. And if you could, please subscribe to Gameosity and follow along with all of our silly antics by clicking this G in the vicinity of our hands. I'm behind it now.